Hello and welcome again to Lorenzo's Scientific Holistic Health Store. Please subscribe, comment frequently, and share these videos with your friends. We have some great conversations here. Now, also check out my Facebook page too, Lorenzo McCoy and Larry B. McCoy Jr. You'll be able to find it there for a lot of my posts about health, science, and racially motivated issues. Now, I'm going to be drinking my drink. I don't know if you just saw my last video. This is a very, very potent smoothie that I drink every morning. Well, I started back drinking every morning. I'm going to show you how fast it gets you back into your optimum health after letting yourself go. Mm. But it's all connected with the particular topic that I have for you today. This one, I'm going to stay a little bit more serious and speak on, we're going to get a little bit more sciencey. I know a lot of people don't really like that, but for those like myself who are students of research, you will get a kick out of this. And for those who don't usually do a lot of deep research, you're still going to get a kick out of it also. We're going to talk about neuroscience, and we might even touch on a little bit of genetics, i.e., epigenetics. And with neuroscience, we're going to be mainly concerning today the science of belief and the brain's ability to rewire itself, i.e., neuroplasticity. First, why I chose this particular topic for today. Well, I do a lot of talking with clients who want to change their life. And for those who don't know, I am a life coach. I may not always look like, I may not always dress the part, but my clients, they love me and I really do get results. I'm very real with people. I share with people when I change my eating for the better or worse, and I show them the effects. Um, I show them what happens when you drink a soda, when you drink a lot of soda, when you go back eating a lot of meats, a lot of milk-based products, and a lot of things like that. Also, when you make certain life decisions that may not be the best decision to make. I'm very open about that too. I've made a lot of mistakes and I've made a lot of good decisions in life also. I'm still here, still pretty healthy, you know. I could be a lot more healthy if I stay on the golden path. But sometimes you take different chances for love, for finances, for whatever reason. We do what we do. What does that have to do with? Let's start off with neuroplasticity. Neuro, of course, the mind, the brain, neurons, which are those cells that make up your brain. Plasticity. What do they mean by that? Your mind, a lot of us who've been studying metaphysics and studying natural health, we've always known this. But Western science finally have caught up with us and found out that you really can grow new neurons. Remember they said you get a certain amount of brain cells and once they're dead, you can't make any more. Incorrect. A lot of us tried to tell them that. But they finally caught up. You really can. Once you become a certain person, you're that person always. Not true. For a lot of my clients, even though you may not listen to this type of music, my white clients know, but a lot of my black clients do not. There's a song by a group, I believe, called 32, 36 Special, 38 Special, like the Revolver. 38 Special, and the song has to do with if you want to be somebody else, change your mind. Simple song, but it really cuts to the core of what I'm speaking to you about today. If you're finding out that the person in the mirror you really don't like, and people don't like that person in the mirror either, you don't like the look, you don't like the feel of that person keeps leading you down roads that are replete with dead ends, danger, loss of money, loss of love, loss of loved ones, loss of life of people around you. If you want to be somebody else, change your mind. I'm going to keep repeating that. I want you to go look up that song, even if it's not the type of music you listen to. That's one of the problems. Do something today that you don't normally do. If you only listen to classical music, you might find out you like Enya, a Caucasian woman who usually sings a lot of the ancient Celtic music, which is, on another video, we can talk about the Black Celts, the ancient Black history of the Celts, the Black Iberians, but not today. It's all connected. Do something different. You don't have to go all the way to so-called gangster rap, but listen to something opposite of what you normally listen to. And you will find you just might get that edge in the boardroom. You might get that edge when you're trying to get with that person of the opposite sex. You might find out it may give you that edge when talking to your loved ones, your children, your siblings, or your parents. Because when you look into and allow other type of music to, and I'm not talking about it has to be music about killing and all that type of stuff. I'm not going there. I'm talking about there is so much music on the planet that is also positive, but it has a different beat, a different tune. That same type of syncopated rhythm that jazz ragtime has, you can find it in African music. You can find it in different types of European music that you don't normally listen to. Irish drinking songs, some type of German drinking song. And also, I was very deep into a lot of the Irish ballads when a soldier was going off to war and they may not have come back. A lot of spiritual songs that you will find in different types of music. What am I saying? When you open yourself up to different pathways, your brain will begin to rewire itself. Neuroplasticity. Like plastic, you can bend the brain. Once it's hardwired, it's not there forever. You can retrain your brain. So I was that type of person growing up. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. And I got to thinking about that. Before I even started before I even knew what neuroscience was, I used to always question every single thing I heard, which is still on this topic, because we're going to talk about the neuroscience of belief. Why do we believe what we believe? And is it natural to have belief systems? Can you teach an old dog new tricks? Of course you can. I've had 7 dogs growing up. And no matter how old a dog is, if you put them in a certain situation, they can be retrained, just like humans. Now I'm going to go to the extreme. If you put an adult in prison, no matter what age he is, if he wants to or not, he's going to learn the rules of that prison system. If you put an older person into a very technologically advanced environment and they have to deal with it, no matter how slow they are, they might be a little bit slower than the rest of the people around them, but even people these days, including myself, there was no cell phone when I was younger. So think about my parents and my parents' parents. Some people are using the phone that you crank up like that, and you tell the operator, could you pass me in to this particular number, please? but they can use cell phones today. They can use a computer. They may not be the most advanced using it, but you can teach an old dog new tricks, because if you set up the situation around that dog by which that dog does not have a chance to do anything else but learn it, that dog's going to learn some new tricks. It may not be the most efficient as a younger dog, and I know I'm equating humans with dogs, but I'm trying to stay in line with that particular saying to show that I got to call bullcrap on that particular one. You can teach an old dog new tricks. That saying has lying within it a certain belief. We're still talking about belief. It's not truly scientific. It can be difficult depending on the teacher. See, it's easy when you are a master of science, a master of psychology, and you will know the right procedure to teach that so-called old dog, that older person, or that young person who's just been doing things according to a certain paradigm. If you are a very good seller, a very good motivator, a very good coach, you can get that person that seems to be unmotivated, that student that seems to be unmotivated, to get them motivated and do whatever the desired behavior is. Let's go back. If you want to be someone else, change your mind. Sometimes you may have to tweak the environment of that particular specimen if you're a scientist, that patient if you are a doctor, be it of the mind or the body, or that life coach. You may have to take that person out of their comfort zone so that they can grow. You put a seed in a little cup, it starts to germinate, it starts to bud, and it starts to push through the soil. The roots are getting too wide and dispersed for that little bitty cup. In order for that particular species to proliferate like it should, you're going to have to take it out of that little bitty cup and put it in at least a bigger container or outside. Humans are the exact same way. Step back a little bit. We're going to start adding in a little science at a time. Just like this cup, I'm going to take a little drink at a time. Hold on, my son just got home from school. What's up, LeMay? I'm just saying what's up to you, letting you know I know you're here. All right, I'm going to keep taping, though. How was school? All right. I have to acknowledge the children, of course. Now, the human brain is first reptilian. This has nothing to do with that alien stuff. Mammalian, like a mammal. Then you have a primate aspect to your brain, little monkey, squirrels and things like that, lemurs. Then you have the human part that we will call human, which is that neocortex, that prefrontal cortex, your third eye, that aspect that can rule over the more uninitiated part of the human brain. That reptilian part of your brain. For those who think I'm just making this up, this is some type of metaphysical stuff. This is science. When you study the human body and you study that you come from an egg, just like a chicken, a part of you actually looks like a chicken as your body's growing. You actually have a tail at a certain point. Now I know we're still talking about the neuroscience of belief. A lot of people can't get past this part already. We have nothing to do with that. It sound like that evolution type stuff. I'm not even getting that deep right now. These are facts. You can look at the egg inside of a woman, the sperm of a male, almost looking like a little tadpole, a frog, an amphibian, some type of mammal reptilian mix. Live underwater and on land. At a certain point, humans have what appears to be gills that would eventually develop into lungs. So in terms of talking about evolution, even if you don't understand evolution from the mindset that it is possible from what we can tell scientifically that we came straight out of the ocean at some point. That doesn't mean that God didn't do it, didn't make it. It's just that a lot of our holy books really will be too big if you really had a very definite understanding of how you got here. Which, bear with me, I just have to build it up for you. How do we get from that to believing that the Creator spit on the ground, took a little dirt, and made a human? Oh, he's by himself, took a rib, and made a woman. And I'm not going to even get that deep into this particular video. We're not going to get that deep into religion. We're still centering around the neuroscience of belief. Why humans believe. You have to believe. It is your nature to believe. And what I am going to expose in this particular video is how you can use the knowledge of how your brain works to better adapt yourself to your surroundings. The matrix that you live in that was constructed for you using the knowledge of how the human brain works is how you are controlled as a sheep. You're called sheeple because that's how you act. I fly in and out of the matrix all the time. It's nothing to me to live off water for about a month. I don't care. I just care less. I really don't care how it looks to people. If I feel like, okay, I've been killing myself, I've been tripping, I will go and be alone and not talk to anyone. I'll pop in and say, hey, what's up? Daddy loves you and everything, but daddy's working right now. And I will go a whole month. Fruits, raw, vegetables, and water to purify myself and just to get that ickiness of people's fears and belief systems up out of me. And then when I want to think about money, I create money just by thinking about it. I'm not afraid to travel, get up and move. I don't care if I moved a lot. I really don't care about little stupid stuff like that. Because I've mastered the human brain. I understand that we believe certain things because it's a human trait that you need. Okay? I threw out there the reptilian part of your brain, the so-called art complex. You can go research it yourself. This is just going to be a little brief overview, but we're going to get into some stuff now because not everyone here is a scientist. Not everyone has had a biology class. We just can't talk about the brainstem, the medulla oblongata. We've heard that from comedians, but don't even know what it is. Hippocampus, what is that? The biggest thing that you should understand is that gray matter that we call the brain is 99% water. 99%. And when Sound like the old ball and chain. I was kidding. And when you don't drink enough water, it affects how your brain works because it's supposed to be 99% water. Just 2% water loss, dehydration. You get dizzy. Still talking about neuroscience. If you want that brain to work, you have to give it what it needs. I'll get a little bit deeper. Those parts of the brain that I've talked about, we give it those names because those are the parts of the brain through science. Using magnetism, you can turn off different parts of the brain. You can turn off the left side of the brain, the right side of the brain, show someone some pictures, and that other side of the brain won't even know anything about it. And we watch how people interact. You can show someone the right side of the brain that doesn't have much to do with language. You need the left side of the brain to compose sentences, the so-called analytical side of the brain. You show someone a picture of a drink of water, and you turn off the right side the left side of the brain. Then all of a sudden you show them a picture of 20 different things, and that same bottle of water is in there, and they say, which one do you choose? And they say, a bottle of water. Then you ask them why. They can't tell you why. The thing that's interesting, now we get into neuroscience now. The thing that's interesting about that particular experiment, the human brain has to make up a reason. It doesn't really know why because the right brain wasn't involved. The left brain wasn't involved in that. It was turned off. It is natural for humans to make up a reason why it chose a bottle because it really doesn't know why. It was presented to that side of the brain, and now you're asking the left brain, who had nothing to do with it, wasn't even around when that picture was flashed. So that human cannot really tell you why it chose the bottle of water. It can't because that side of the brain you're talking to now is the analytical side that's supposed to be able to speak. So it makes up a reason. Well, I believe it was because I was thirsty. And that's not the reason. It doesn't know. It has to make up a reason. Now we're getting a little bit deeper. We're talking about belief. That shows us scientifically when a human isn't able to understand why it does something, it makes up a reason why. And it has to do with, there's a lot of experiments that I want to get into. There's just not that much time. I wanted to throw that one out because that's just one of the many things that I can show you that's amazing when you start studying neuroplasticity, the science of how the brain works, neuroscience. The brain allows us to make sense. Okay, we're getting there. To make sense of reality. Think about how hard it would be to go through life if every single thing confused you. You wouldn't be able to do anything. You wake up. What if you have no memory every single day, like the movie Memento, one of my favorite movies? And you get up, you don't know where you are every single day. That would be pretty confusing. So we have long-term memories. So you wake up, you know you're at home. Person next to you, you recognize that person unless you did something wrong, like got drunk the night before, got high. And then you will see that confusion. I don't know where I am. I don't know who this is. How do I get home? Where is my home? What's my name? Those are problems. The human brain takes over and helps you out. So even when you grab that drink and you don't know why you did, I must be thirsty. You don't have to sit there and cry. I don't know why I'm grabbing this drink. What? This thing is coming to my face. I don't know why I did that. I did it because I was thirsty, even if you were not. Now, some of my other videos, you might have learned that most of us eat when actually we're thirsty. But because we haven't mastered the human body and our own brain, know thyself, know the universe, we haven't done that. We're not that astute. We are stupid when it comes to ourselves. So we eat. I'm so hungry. Your body's telling you, oh, we're dehydrated. We need water. We need hydration. H2O, 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. We need that with all those minerals. The science of belief, in order for me to sit down in this chair and not think every single time that it might break, that would be a problem every time you sit down. That's what faith is. Faith is believing in something that you really do not have enough evidence, and sometimes just not enough time to fully get a concrete explanation of a certain situation. So you have to have faith. When I get in that car, I have to hope my wife puts some gas in the car. I got to drive 2 hours out. I have to have faith that the car is going to even start. And I have to have faith that that gas hand didn't break down the night before. So I have faith when I see it on E that I can put in gas. And I have to do something about it. There's no time for anxiety, which for those of us who study psychology and dealing with patients, anxiety is an emotion that comes about when there is a dilemma for that particular patient. It could be a phobia, it could be some whatever issue it is. When there's is a problem, when that person is not being satiated, whatever they think they need in life, whatever they physically need or emotionally need, when it does not become satisfied, there's anxiety. It can manifest as nervousness and it can manifest as anger for some patients. This particular video threw out a lot of stuff. I'm trying to mold it into a circle for us. The deeper you start studying how the brain works, you will see. And I brought up different terms before, and one in particular you're going to hear a lot of. And we have to keep talking about it because when I make little stabs at people's religious beliefs, it's, even though I know it's going to make you mad, you have to think. You can still keep your paradigm, religious paradigm. But if you want to really see heaven on earth, as above, so below, may your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. If that's going to happen, it's going to happen through you. There is no spooky spirit coming to make your world heaven on earth without you. There's very few times in most holy books where it was just a storm that happened. The only time that the creator, from what we can tell, when it's time to destroy some stuff, then the creator's going to just do that himself. But the lessons in the Bible, the Quran, the Upanishads, Rig Veda, humans have to do something. If you believe in the story of Moses, how come he can just walk out? Why that whole long story and hoopla, all the plagues and everything? How come he say, okay, no, y'all my people, just walk up out of there. Anybody follow you, they're going to drop dead. Because the lessons, the biggest lesson, if you really read the Bible, It has to do with if you want something from this creator, you got to put out. You have to do something. How come Moses had to tap the stick on the rock to make water come out? How come he had to hold the stick up to keep the people fighting? When he put his hands down, they start losing the fight. Then two people go up and hold his hands back up. People look up and say, oh, okay, God's still with us. And they start winning the battle again. Why come there's still something some human had to do? I'm bringing it up because the science of belief and how humans misconstrue knowledge now is very detrimental to us. I deal with people who I try to teach them, make one of these smoothies every single morning. It's a meal replacement. Don't wake up and eat bacon and eggs and pancakes. Don't do that. I understand you grew up doing it, but then your doctor tell you have 5 years to live. Then you say you got cancer running in your family, diabetes. Do something different than the people who succumb to those particular diseases. Drink this smoothie every single morning for the rest of your life. I make it sweet. I know we like sweetness. It's nice and sweet. You can even make it sweeter by putting more frozen strawberries in it and different blueberries and things like that. Raspberries. I like it frozen because I like my stuff cold, like a shake, like a smoothie. It's all about giving people, taking people where they are right now to the next step. Neuroscience. We're still talking about neuroscience. How do you do that? I'm telling you about belief because I have to show people that even in their Bible, God didn't just give people health. Well, you had to believe, yeah. But that belief, I want you to really go back and read the story. That blind man had to walk 20 miles to get to Jesus. Or their family member had to go 20 miles to go get Jesus and convince him to come back another 20 miles to where their sick person is and say, could you please do something for this blind dude? And that blind person still had to believe. That's some deep belief. A lot deeper than what people have today when they say they believe. If you believe, and you'll believe in this smoothie because your God made this and not some chemical company. That's what I have to tell my patients. That, well, I believe in the blood of Jesus, in Jesus' name, this is going to be healed. Most people in your church, it hasn't worked. Most people in your church that get cancer, they die from chemotherapy. There's very few people who have so-called diabetes in the family who've ever seen somebody reverse diabetes. And that's one of the most easiest diseases to fix. But ask the average person to say, in the blood of Jesus, in Jesus' name, get behind me, thief, Satan, and this disease will be gone. It's still there because they still eat the same. The neuroscience of belief. Now, we're going to get a little bit deeper. Why do they believe it? Because as humans, they really don't want to change. So they have to believe that what they're doing is normal. And in order to fix it, they have to, instead of doing something opposite, which is the pathway of the most resistance. See, that default cognition is what we do every single day. We revert to the neuroscience of belief because it is the pathway of least resistance. The pathway of most resistance would have to do with what we call metacognition, the art of thinking about thinking. And you have to really analyze, why do I believe this? Why am I thinking this? Why do I make these decisions whenever this particular thing happens? Whenever this particular thing happens, why do I go this way? Whenever I get thirsty, why do I go get a hamburger? And with that hamburger, why do I get a large Pepsi to go along with it and some fries? maybe that's why I have the body that I have today. This person over here that's always talking about eating that rabbit food, their body looks better, their hair looks better. I'm 100% gray, and they got one gray hair, and they 5 years older than I am. They're in better shape. They look better. It looks like they feel better about themselves. Their confidence is off the charts. If my body looked like that, I'll be confident too. The neuroscience, this particular video is, how come that person who doesn't have the body that they want, how come they believe the way they believe? And it has to do with the science of belief. We are pre-hardwired, pre-congenitally, it's congenital. Before birth, we are pre-made and hardwired to believe in things. Because we have to be, in order to deal with the many stimuli happening around us all of the time. You'll be spooked all the time if you didn't have some type of basic belief system. How do you know when you get up and put your feet on the floor, you're not going to fall through the floor? Think about it. These are things we take for granted. Now we're getting a little bit deeper now, and I'm still being pretty broad so everybody can grasp it. Don't think I'm not talking like I'm talking over your head. I'm not using that much big vocabulary about science. I'm going to introduce a couple of terms. Cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance. We might talk about dissociative fugue because it's funny to talk about, but different things that humans do when they are confronted by things they really do not want to deal with or don't have time. The human brain takes in everything like a recorder. It really does. That's why certain people who are autistic seem smarter than you when they can do math that only calculators can do. And they can do it easy, but they can't really live a regular life. Because the reason why we all don't think like that, it takes up so much of your time and your brain while you're driving down the street and you're counting every single stripe on the road. It can impair driving. Don't you think? You're driving and you're calculating all the clouds in the sky, exactly how high each cloud is, looking up at the type of clouds, looking at the base of the cloud, estimating exactly how many miles in the sky is that particular cloud by looking at whatever sphere of the atmosphere it is, and you're supposed to be driving. Okay, that particular cloud, is from the stratosphere, the tropopause, or whatever. It can mess things up. Your mind does take it in, but cognitively, what you think of as reality, and this is neuroscience, is really a very vague, broad caricature of what's really going on. I'm talking about your everyday understanding, your everyday visualization, your everyday life is really a caricature that is made by your brain to help you to try to understand and make it very simple of the world around you. Now, what am I saying? Let me say it in a different way. Out of all the information happening around you, look around you right now. There's a vent over here blowing air. It's blowing hot air out because it's the winter time. It's like 35 degrees outside. 80 degrees is coming out of that vent. My body is sweating as it's trying to regulate that temperature. I'm drinking this smoothie at the same time. 60% of digestion is happening in the mouth. breathing, which means I'm taking in oxygen somewhere around the alveoli sacs. There's an interplay between oxygen, carbon dioxide, and my body is breathing out carbon dioxide. It's doing all of that at the same time. I'm looking at the computer screen. Sometimes I'm looking at my own image when I should be looking at the camera itself. Right now, I'm looking at the camera right now. I'm looking at my image, and I look back at the camera, and I look around the room. As I'm talking, I'm thinking about what I'm talking about. I'm hearing noises downstairs. I hear the dryer. I heard my son, maybe his mom or his younger sister. I heard a female voice. So I'm smelling. He's making something to eat. Probably not drinking a good smoothie that I just made. He's probably microwaving something. All of these things are happening at the same time. It's too much to deal with. So your brain, what it does is it takes all of that information, breaks it down for you, and that little bitty dot of information, it projects it on a little screen for you. Because that's the most you can understand. No matter how smooth you think you are, I can multitask. Your brain really only allows you to do one thing at a time because it's already doing so much. And I always tell my patients, what if you had to think about your heartbeat? Most of us would be dead just with that, right? Just by itself, most of us would be dead. Oh, I forgot to start my heart back up. I was running, I forgot to speed up my heart. Oh, breathing. I forgot. I was wondering why I keep fainting. I forgot to breathe. Most of us take very shallow breaths. When I was younger, I used to sit like this. Oh, why are you so stiff? You need to relax. I used to breathe very deep. I was a master of martial arts back then. Now I'm just a total slob. No, but I can see the difference though. I was more like a robot. I just look at people. Look at these idiots. I didn't look down on people, but I was like, what are they doing? I watched them in different relationships. And now I notice when my eating changed, my breathing changed, I start interacting with different people. I do a lot of the same dumb stuff they do. It takes 1 second, back on neuroplasticity, it takes 1 second to change all of that. It doesn't matter if you've never lived the way I did before. You were never an athlete, you were never a martial artist, you were never a very pure person, only taking into your body the purest of elements. It doesn't matter if you've never done that, you can do it right now. Your belief system is telling you that you can't do it. I asked you in the beginning of this video, how come most people just never get it done? How come most people that go to a seminar aren't going to go back and totally change their life? The life is going to be the same. Now, they were entertained. The better speaker you are with nice graphics and everything, you give out free stuff. Oh, that tastes good. I think I can make one of those smoothies. That tastes very good. They're not going to go home and make it at all. They might, if they came with a little money, you might make some sales. They're going to buy your books, your DVDs, your smoothie packets, jars. They might even buy a whole juicer from you, $500 on the spot. And it's going to go home with them. It will start off in the kitchen on the counter, and it will be put into the closet and sit there on the floor. And sometime around next Christmas, it will be given to someone else who may really use it. 99% of all of the exercise videos and equipment that you see late night, oh man, what, you see that? You see that body? First I was like this, and now I'm like this. That could be me. Comes to your house. It can fit right up under your bed. You know why they really do that? Because that's where it's going to stay for most people. It can fold up right into your closet. That's where it's going to stay. They know it. They know that most of the people who buy those apparatus is going to stay up under that bed, in that closet, nicely folded away. That's if it even comes out of the box. Because people know they're supposed to do better on the outside, cognitively. But what's happening in the subconscious really dictates what that person is going to do. Consciously, you know you're supposed to do better, eat better. You know it. Subconsciously, your subconscious has been raped by big companies because they understand neuroscience. They know you don't act on that part sticking out of the ocean, that iceberg. The iceberg is what? Is it that part sticking out of the ocean? No, it's mostly that big chunk of ice that can go down a whole mile up under the ocean, and you might only see 10 feet sticking out of the water. That part sticking out of the water is your conscious mind, your prefrontal cortex. That part that cognitively says, I should be doing a lot better. That huge part dictates exactly what you're going to do. Subconsciously, the next time I see those golden arches, I'm pulling in. The second I smell some fried chicken, I'm going to eat it. The second I see some candy, pie, cake, I'm going to get a slice. That's what really dictates. And that's why most people do not get that life change. The belief system has to change. And the only way you can change a person's belief system, and I read that the best way I've seen it was in the book Mental Netta 1 and 2. Reason why Bibles and Qurans don't really change the behavior of a people is because you cannot scientifically change a person's behavior by talking about good behavior. That's why the Bible doesn't really work for most people. They say it does, but it doesn't. Their money doesn't change. They still broke. They still sick. They still don't have good marriages. And they still do not know how to raise their children properly. And when I say raise their children properly, I mean that the children become thieves and crackheads, But they may be other adults who have more children out of wedlock and don't raise their own children. A lot of broken relationships. And these are good people. They don't have to be bad people. I'm talking about they just really don't know how to keep things in order. It's because we haven't been taught how to use our brain. The belief system that we have that the human brain says, I got this. I'm pretty good. I'm a pretty good person. I'm very good at relationships. I'm very open. I'm very talkative. When you study the brain, most people have a view of themselves that's a lot higher than what they really are. It's natural to do that. I think I'm pretty good, probably pretty good with money, but they always broke. I do very good with money. Bills don't get paid. I'm pretty good with relationships, just other people. Too talkative. I'm a very good listener. But they're talking like this all the time. They meet me. Oh, you just love to talk. You like to hear yourself talk. No, I actually don't. I'm trying to explain something to you, but you're talking so much you can't hear me. And you are doing so much explaining, telling me how much I talk. It took you 2 hours to tell me how much I talk. And I'm sitting there like this. Okay. And I add something in there. You just don't know me. You don't know my world. But I have to understand, as the teacher, as neuroscience, it is natural for a human to see themselves way up here. And it's up to me to not throw them off of that pedestal, but to try to add a little bit at a time and show them that you can still tweak a couple of different things. If you are there, Why are you here? You don't have any problems, according to every. It sounds like you don't have any problems, but you're still crying, you're still depressed, you're still wondering why these relationships don't work. You obviously don't have it as well as you say you do. Get like me and just do something totally different, something that you've never done before. Go to a restaurant you've never gone before. If you've never gone to a 100% vegan restaurant, go. But most of you won't. And still, we're still talking about neuroscience, the pathway of least resistance to keep doing what you've already been doing. I'm making this video because I want you to know, as a health coach and you as a client, if you're going to get that 100% life change, you have to do things that you haven't been normally doing. That's pretty simple, huh? Why does the video have to be this long? I'm gonna tell you why. The reason why that this business is still making billions per year. No matter how many sick people there are, how many overweight people there are, if it really was all about the information by itself, you only need one great speaker, one great book, one best-selling book should have wiped out obesity years ago, right? One Les Brown is all you need for motivational speaking. Why do we have so many others? Why is Les Brown still traveling the world making speeches, making new videos? Think about it. I thought about it. I didn't want to do what everyone else was doing because we already have a lot of great speakers. And that's telling me that people still have a problem because it's something a little bit deeper. I've gone to different conferences myself about how to make money, how to flip property. And I'm standing there with people. I'm like, let's go do this. Yeah. And I call them back next week. I'm the only one still motivated. Same thing when I used to be a personal trainer, learning all these different techniques on how to help a person correct their own musculature. Somebody whose feet is going out this way or this way, we can use bands to help them, neuroplasticity again, help their brains to hardwire itself to fire those muscle fibers a certain way to keep the feet going straight. This is great information. I've never heard this stuff before. And I look on the sides, most people are still training the same way they did before. You didn't get anything out of that, man? I mean, one of the people that trained a lot of stores, and he actually invented a lot of the apparatuses that you see in the gym, those free motion machines and stuff like that. He and his friend invented that. He's training us. When I used to work for Export Fitness, then I go back to the gym and I see all these trainers still using the same stuff. Now, I was one of the ones, since I was in the holistic health, I would tell people, all of my clients, you can go buy this stuff on the shelf they have over there, or you can go to Whole Foods and get you this, make these shakes yourself. You're gonna get a lot more out of it. Now, I'm supposed to tell you about the stuff on the shelf, but if you want to get like me, yeah, no, that's how I'm always gonna be that way. I want people to get real results, and I understand it's still a business. They have to sell those whack products they have on the shelf, those 100% chemical products. But I'm watching even people at the so-called top, the trainers themselves, neuroscience, they can't change what they've always been doing. It's about making the client work, sweat, work, sweat. And I'm watching people injure their knees. And I'm like, man, we learned in class, man. Not all of those machines. If a person's feet does this or that, they're not supposed to be doing leg extensions or squats. It's just going to destroy their knees. We have to first correct their musculature with bands, resistance bands. They didn't start doing that. I was doing it because I was like, man, this is great. It's natural. It's about correction. And I watched them. They got women squatting and stuff. The women feeling okay. About a month later, they can't walk. Knees blown out. Guys, too. The trainers themselves You know, the fat guy with the big gut, but he's real big up in here, skinny legs, those guys. Still talking about neuroplasticity. Now we're up to 55 minutes. Why am I still talking this long? Because I'm doing something that a lot of you don't understand yet. Why do I make hour videos? And I keep rambling because repetition is what gets it into your long-term memory. Not just me throwing out, I can make 5-minute videos and give you all the information. I mean, the top neuroscience information. I can give it to you in less than 10 minutes. But that's not what makes you want to look at my videos. You like these videos because I put it in a way to make you think. And on purpose, I'm not doing it like a class. I can do a nice PowerPoint, presentation. I can make my videos look fly, for real, special effects and everything. I know how to do that. I've got Photoshop on here. I got the whole Adobe suite. You know what I'm saying? I can make this mug look funky. I can go get a camera, a very expensive camera, and some real lights. 3-point lighting, 3 cameras, where I can look over and yes, and yes, and a lot of B footage, make it look very nice. And it's still all about the content. When you leave from this video, the number one thing I want you to understand, humans, because we have very primal parts of our brains, the reptilian part of our brain, the so-called R complex, the mammalian brain, that mammal type of brain, that primate part, and the smallest part is what makes you human. Most of you is an animal, and I know a lot of people don't get that because of the belief system. You are pretty much just an animal. But what they have going on for them is they know what they're supposed to eat. They know who their enemies are. They know who their friends are. They know what environments they thrive the best in. They know what to do. They know not to poop where they live. And I'm not talking about domesticated animals. I'm talking about animals in nature. Know what they're supposed to be doing. They just know instinctively. It's inside of you to do that. But because you do have a switch that you can turn on and off that overrides the animal part of the brain, that's good and bad. Because if you do not know how to use it, because you can turn it off, you will eat things that you're not naturally supposed to eat. You will have sex outside of estrus, the mating season. You will sleep with inadequate sleep times. You will not get enough sun. You do a lot of weird stuff. Sit in air conditioning instead of going outside, and you will sit in the heat instead of going outside. So you will the whole winter like a bear. At least a bear knows it's supposed to sleep that whole winter. You will watch TV for a whole winter in the heat, drinking hot cocoa and weird stuff like that, because your prefrontal cortex allows you to override what you're naturally supposed to do. So when you're thirsty, you will go get something to eat. That is how the brain works. Going back to in this last 2 minutes, how come most of us do not get what it is we say we want? Is because we have not been trained and initiated, illuminated on how to use the prefrontal cortex, that third eye, to override the natural ability for us to just believe that what we're doing is already correct. It is time to start thinking about what we do and what we believe. And if you're living exactly how you want to live, keep doing the same thing. But if you see you're not getting the relationships, the money, and the health that you need, do something totally different. Make those smoothies that I keep telling you about. No matter how you think I look, the information is A1. This is some of the top information you're going to get from anyone. I'm not trying to make it look cute. I'm not trying to get dates from this. I want you to change your life today. So after this video, subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends, and talk about it. And ask me some questions, comment. And then you will start to see your life change. Until then, you're just another sucker sitting on YouTube watching videos. And your life is exactly the same. Still overweight, still don't have the life you want. Women, you will never have the man of your dreams. Guys, you'll never have the woman of your dreams. You still will have the same badass children, getting in trouble all the time, getting sick all the time, because you aren't willing to turn off that small animal part of yourself that's naturally supposed to be there to get that higher level life that you're supposed to live, that God actually wanted you to live. This has been Lorenzo McCoy. This has been long enough. Hope you look at it once or twice. And I want you to think deeply about every single thing that I said. Look up some of those terms. Look up cognitive dissonance, neuroplasticity, and even the default cognition, what people default to, that so-called pathway of least resistance. Why do we use that instead of doing exactly what we're supposed to do to make more of our lives? Peace, and that's going to be it for this one.